Hello and welcome to the podcast. This is Ron's Amazing Stories. We have stories that should thrill you a little and chill you a little.
It's amazing.
You will hear adventures sent in by you guys, classic stories from the pulp mags, and episodes from the golden age of radio. We have special segments like Ghost Stories with Sylvia.
That's amazing.
And the Paranormal with Jason.
I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
So settle in for the next hour and enjoy the show. Oh, and you just might want to prepare yourself to be taken away from today.
Another 5-minute mystery.
This 5-minute mystery is being brought to you by Cats. And no, not the famous Broadway hit. I have studied many philosophers and many cats. The wisdom of cats is infinitely superior. Oh, and this has nothing to do with our story.
Well, Jerry boy, this should be the greatest haul in history. Real setup. That stupid Williams tipping me to that heisty and his gang, eh? Boy, oh boy, are they stupid. Uh-oh, there's a store right up ahead. Jules Jewelry. Now to park this thing. I'll leave it running so I can scram out of here in a hurry. What? No doorman here at Jules? Oh, well, that fire plug will do. Won't make any difference. I'll be right out. There. Now to go see Jules. How do you do? May I help you, young man? Yes, indeed, Pop. I'm getting engaged tonight. I need something extra special in the way of diamonds. You got any?
Oh, yes, a very nice selection. Something in a ring, eh? Just step back here. I think I can find something you like.
Okay, Pop.
Now, here are a few choice ones. This one is a
Cut the comedy, Pop. I got a gun here.
Huh?
Now, let's you and me step back into the little room for a little chat. Just keep on moving.
What's the meaning of this? Is this a holdup?
Look, Jules, I know you're the fence for the Williams mob. You're in pretty deep, so don't start crying to me. Now, dig up that haul they brought in today and be quick. I want to borrow it.
I'm warning you, you'll be caught.
Cut the stalling.
Okay. Here they are, just under this table. Now, take them. And this, too, you stupid... Oh!
You're a little too old to try that, Jules. That tap on the head will hold you for a good long time. Ta-ta, man. Thanks for the loan. Oh, excuse me, lady. Sorry I bumped you. I'm rushing to get married, you know. Now, that, Jerry, me boy, was a sweet job. Another 15 minutes and I'll be past the city limits. They're not looking for me. I've been speeding. Hey, maybe they are. Nothing went wrong back there, did it? Oh, no, it couldn't have. Now's no time to get panicked. Not with 15 grand in those little rocks. I guess I'd better pull over.
Hey, mister. You own this car? Your name Jerome Smith?
Yeah, that's right. What's up?
We got orders to delay you. You got a date with homicide for the murder of Jules Buck. I hope you knew him.
In just a moment, the conclusion of our story. But first...
Okay, nice story, and Jerry, me boy, likes to talk to himself a lot, but what was the mystery here? I mean, the guy told us what he was gonna do, then he did it, and made his getaway. I guess the only real question here is why the officer stopped him. Psychic phenomena? Perhaps they'll give us a logical explanation, but knowing how these go, it'll probably be quite silly. Let's go see.
And now, back to our story.
What's all this about murder and homicide?
Well, we got an all-car call. Seems some guy bumped into a dame outside this Jules Jewelry. It was past 6 when he was usually closed, and she figured something was funny, so she goes in and finds this Jules dead. Knocked over the head a little too hard. She calls the cops, and they come over. This dame saw you jump into the car, and she described you good. But what caught you was funny. And 5-10 minutes before that, this same squad car crew gave your car a ticket for being parked in front of a hydrant with the motor running. You're going to pay a lot for breaking the parking laws.
Breaking the parking laws? This guy is a stone-cold killer and diamond thief. But it was the traffic laws that did him in? This 5-minute mystery was brought to you by the cat. Be he burglar or household friend, they sure can cause a lot of mischief. Welcome to the podcast, but more importantly, welcome to the 10th annual Month of Spooky. That's right, this is our 10th year of podcasting and trying to chill you a little and thrill you a little. This month, you will hear old-time classic horror, crazy scary stories, and even a few surprises. On the show today, we celebrate the cat. Albert Schweitzer once said that there are two means of refuge from the miseries of life: music and cats. Why is that? What is it about a beast that has sharp claws and teeth designed to rip us apart also manages to calm us? The cats we will talk about on this program will range from the calming to the spooky. Then we will have a frightening tale of a woman who believes that she is becoming a cat. You just might want to have a friend with you for that one, or perhaps a kitty to calm your fears. So sit back and enjoy, if you can, more spookiness for the month of Spooky 2020. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/Ron's Amazing Stories. They have over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, computer, Kindle. Whatever you have, you can listen to Audible on it. So what am I listening to right now? True Ghost Stories and Eerie Legends from America's Most Haunted Neighborhood by David Domine. What is the most haunted neighborhood in America? That's what many are calling Old Louisville, which is an extensive preservation district in Kentucky's largest city. It has hundreds of old mansions and beautiful homes. Wherever you go in this eye-popping neighborhood, it seems that a haunted house is not too far away. Over the last decade, so many stories of paranormal activity have surfaced that Old Louisville has gained the reputation as being one of the spookiest locations in the country. David Domine discovered this for himself after purchasing an old home on Millionaires Row in 1999. As a result, David set out to document and research these reports and began writing about his very own neighborhood. Here's a clip from the book.
Pushing any negative thoughts out of my head, I waited for the water to boil, made my tea, and ran up to the study on the top floor. After doing a bit of work on the computer, I watched a movie, and when the pot of tea ran out, I decided to turn in for the evening. I ran downstairs to set the teapot in the sink and then called the dogs to let them outside. The back door propped open. I watched them run around the backyard a bit and then called them inside. Before I had the chance to close the door all the way, A black blur shot past me with a sharp hiss, ran out the door, and disappeared over the back fence. The nervous little black cat had abandoned its home under the stairs and gone outside, something it had never done before. She had never even been outside for all I knew, so I got in the car and drove around the neighborhood looking for her. After more than an hour and no luck, I decided to return home and resume the search the next morning if she hadn't come back by then. Once inside, I turned off the lights, gathered the dogs, and then we all headed for bed. The next morning, I resumed the search, and even put up signs throughout the neighborhood. Although I looked and looked, we never saw the little black cat again. Even though spring had definitely arrived, the week the cat ran away, it seemed that a bit of a chill still remained in the house. Several nights later, I settled in under the covers and quickly drifted off to sleep. I had slept for perhaps an hour or so when the uneasy stirring of the dogs on the bed roused me from my slumber. Despite the darkness, a small patch of light from the street illuminated the bed through the window, and I could see both dogs as they stood and looked towards the hallway. A low growl, barely audible as Rocky lowered his head and stared. I pulled them both towards me and calmed them down, then listened. At first I could hear nothing, but then I heard a long, slow, wooden creak. I thought maybe a door had swung open by itself, and I waited to hear more. A minute or so passed, and I heard nothing, so I lay back down and waited to fall back asleep. Once again, a long, drawn-out creak resonated slowly in the hallway and sent chills down my spine. I thought someone had surely broken into the house, and I attempted to visualize his location in relation to my bedroom. Another moment passed, and I heard another long groan from the floorboards in the hall, this time closer to the bedroom door in front of me. I could see both dogs as they cocked their heads in response to noise, and I suddenly realized I was afraid. Almost paralyzed, I listened as something seemed to make its way up and down the hallway that ran from the large room at the front of the house, past the home's original nursery, my bedroom, the linen closet, and bathroom, to the small bedroom in the rear of the building. After several minutes' hesitation, I finally mustered the courage to hurl all 220 pounds of me out of bed, grab the aluminum baseball bat propped against the wall, and switch on the light. Making as much noise as possible, I rushed out of the room to confront the unseen intruder, the bat wielded overhead as I cautiously ran the length of the corridor and turned on several other lights. Finding nothing, I searched the other 2 floors and even looked around the attic and basement before returning to my bedroom. I told myself I was acting like a fool as I went back to bed. I closed the bedroom door this time, and once tucked under the covers again, I tried to convince myself that I hadn't gone crazy, and had just imagined the sounds of an intruder in the hallway. After several minutes, I started to relax, comforted by the thought that the closed door would offer some sort of protection in the unlikely event I started to hear the strange noises again. Even if they did start up again, I'd be fine, I told myself, as long as the weird noises did not bother me inside the bedroom. But another minute or 2 passed, and then a loud groan slowly reverberated from the floorboards from the left side of the bed, just inches from where I lay. My skin started to crawl at the realization that the noises had not only returned, but had entered the room. Fighting the sense of panic welling up inside me, I forced myself to take slow breaths, and reassured myself all would be fine, as long as the noise stayed on the left side of the bed. Several tense moments of silence dragged on, and I dreaded the idea that the strange creaking would move around the bed to my right-hand side. Suddenly, the floor let out a long, moaning squeak that ended with a loud pop, and my eyes involuntarily squeezed themselves shut. The creepy wooden groan had come from a spot at the foot of the bed. A shudder ran down my spine and sent my heart to racing even faster. I kept telling myself it had to be the result of the wood expanding and contracting due to the warmer spring weather, but if the sound moved all the way around to the right side, I decided I would be leaving. I held my breath and waited. The dogs seemed to be holding their breaths as well. 1 minute passed, and then another, the lengthy silence compounding the tension that hung in the darkness. Another minute went by, and I exhaled as quietly as possible. I listened intently and squinted to better discern any movement in the darkness, all the while overcome with the uncomfortable sensation that something was watching me.
David Domine, a self-proclaimed skeptic, dismissed rumors of a mischievous resident poltergeist named Lucy when he moved into his new home. He quickly found himself at a loss to explain the disembodied footsteps and mysterious odors that seemed to plague the old house. Soon, he was talking to neighbors and fellow homeowners, and it seemed that everyone had stories of strange events and supernatural occurrences in their homes. As a result, David wrote about one of the most fascinating neighborhoods in the country, and you can have his book today. Here is what Audible has set up for us. Audible is offering a free audiobook and 30 days to give you the opportunity to check out their service. To download your free audiobook, go to audibletrial.com/Ron's Amazing Stories. Again, that's audibletrial.com/Ron's Amazing Stories, and you can get true ghost stories and eerie legends from America's most haunted neighborhood. Thank you, Audible. And now, it's time for your stories.
These are your stories, sent by you, for you.
If you haven't figured it out yet, our theme for your stories this time is the cat. Our reverence of grimalkins has deep roots. Tens of thousands of years before the ancient Egyptians held them in the highest regard, felines figured predominantly in the world of mythology. In the pantheon of gods and deities, the majestic feline has reigned supreme for over 30,000 years. I think our first storyteller, Matt Lynx, sums it up best when he says, "I wouldn't have entertained the idea of supernatural entities until I experienced it firsthand. It was 2005, and I was living in a shared rental house in North Wales. The residence itself was an old terrace house that belonged to an elderly lady before the landlord had purchased it and then rented it out. A couple of weeks after my partner and I moved in, I was convinced I saw something move quickly upstairs. My room was the front room, and I had a desk at one end. My back was to the door, and whenever I sat there, I always felt an uncomfortable sense of being watched. We'd see movement or shape that would very briefly seem like a white cat out of the corner of our eyes. Almost all of these were either of the shape running up or down the stairs or sitting at the top on the landing. Both my partner and I experienced it. This continued for the entire 2 years that we lived there. It was unnerving at first, and the first few times we were convinced that a cat had somehow gotten into the house. After a while, we became accustomed to the occasional sense of ghost cat, and it became a bit of a joke with friends when they visited. One afternoon, I was alone in the house, and I decided to grab a kip. I was deep into a dream of which I will never remember when I felt pressure on my chest. I opened my eyes and distinctly heard the sounds of purring. Clear as day. However, there was nothing there. After a few seconds, the sensation and sound faded away. I can't explain this. There was a freezer unit under the stairs. My partner noticed that it looked quite damp around it. We reported it to the landlord. While he was repairing it, he shared an anecdote that whilst he was renovating the house, he had found a loose stone under the stairs and the skull and bones of a cat buried inside. He didn't know about Ghost Cat until we both burst out laughing and told him. I'm neither religious or superstitious and find it particularly difficult to explain the ghostly cat stalking up and down our stairs. I'm still dubious of a lot of the stories, as there's plenty of money to be made on playing on people's superstition. But me, I'm certainly a believer in some kind of the supernatural. Matt Lynx, Manchester, England. I love it when we get stories from the UK. It's nice to know that the strange and unusual happens everywhere. I did have to look up what a kip was. I've never heard that phrase before, and it caught me by surprise. British folk use kip to mean either nap or longer sleep. It can also mean the idea or act of sleeping, as in, will you be quiet? I'm trying to get some kip in here. It can also be used as a verb. They kipped down for the night. Thank you for your story, Matt. Our next story is one of my all-time favorites. After hearing it, I think you'll probably agree. It comes to us from Melissa Starkey, who lives in Tennessee. We've played this story before on episode number 428, but I could not let the theme of cats go by without revisiting this one. Here is Melissa's tale. Hello, Ron. I don't know if my story qualifies as a ghost story or not, but I'll let you decide that. I just know that I have titled it My Beloved Black Cat. So that you know how significant my cat was, allow me to go into a little history. When I was just starting out in college, I was having a pretty rough time. I'd always moved around a lot, and I rarely lived in one place long enough to make friends. You get the drift. The last high school I attended before graduating, I managed to be there for the last year and a half. I was accepted by a small group of mostly girls. We became close in many ways. One of our group died in an auto accident, and then, as will sometimes happen, the remainder of the group fell apart. I tried to be understanding, but once again, I was an outsider. I'd been going through a terrible depression for some time and wasn't sure if I wanted to continue living. But I had my mind set on attending college, and I would still be living at home. On the way to school that first day, I stopped the car because there was a dead kitten in the road. I couldn't bear to see it lying there, so I got out of the car, gently scooped it up with paper, and buried it on the side of that old country road. I was barely done with this task when I heard a loud cry coming from the general direction of the church across the street. I headed over to the back to see that a tiny furball of a kitten had somehow managed to claw its way halfway up the side of that old brick building. It was just within my grasp, so I reached up for it, fully expecting to get the crap clawed out of me. But the little thing calmed down as soon as I touched it, and I pressed him to my heart. After that, we were inseparable. He was my little buddy. He comforted me, and I no longer felt alone. This continued until I graduated college. My life turned for the worst when both my parents were killed in a plane crash. I was heartbroken, but I knew I had to find a job to take care of myself and my little sister. I found a good job, but it meant moving away, and that meant finding a temporary home for my buddy. I tried to convince myself that he would be okay with my aunt and that I would come back for him as soon as I could. I ended up having to move 3 cities away for a job, and that the people I would be traveling with said no pets. So I felt like I had no choice. I got started on this new life, and I called often to check on him. A year floated by. We had to live in a car for a time, but finally got an apartment and put enough money aside to make the trip back to get my cat. My aunt had told me that he was still around, but was rather vague as to the last time she had seen him. I felt a huge urgency to have him by my side once again, and trusted her that he was still there. He was not. I looked everywhere I could think of. I even went to the woods nearby, where I had been warned not to go. Rumors were that some people who were not very nice resided there. He was nowhere in sight. I finally confronted my aunt and got it out of her that she had not seen him for over a month. I ran out of the house, not knowing how I could handle any more. I was walking along the side of an old country road despondently and asked for a sign. Suddenly, at my feet was a pile of bones. I knew in my heart that my cat was dead, and I burst into tears. A Native American woman came out of nowhere and asked me if I was all right. We talked for a while, and I felt better. She suggested that I pay a visit to the Pinson Mounds. The Pinson Mounds is a Native American Indian site right outside of Jackson, Tennessee. I had heard of the place and even visited there before. I knew that there had been a lot of paranormal activity that had been reportedly seen there. I didn't question why she thought I should go. I simply agreed and went alone. The mounds were beautiful that day, as they usually were out there. There is a winding staircase that goes up to the top of the mound in the front. Oddly, neither one of my parents would ever step foot on it. When we visited, my sister and I would always go to the top, while Mom and Dad would stand waiting at the bottom for us. I made the climb up that mound, thinking of my buddy all the way. As I stared down from the top of that mound, I began to cry. I just wanted to see my cat again. Nothing happened. Not that I really expected it to, but I had hoped. There was a gentle breeze that swept over my face as if in answer to my plea, but I wasn't sure I really believed that. I drove back to my aunt's place in silence. She was waiting for me and had lunch ready. I was sitting there for about an hour when I heard her scream at me, "Come quick! Come quick! Your cat is here!" I was so happy I raced towards the living room from the kitchen to see a black cat on the couch. But not my black cat. This cat was much smaller and female. My aunt continued saying the same thing, but I rolled my eyes and sat down on the couch just a little more than frustrated. Then this stray, who I'd never seen before, came up and rubbed her teeth against the side of my hand, then gently nipped me, just like my cat had always done. My aunt was beaming. "I told you!" I was not convinced at all. Like, seriously, what was she talking about? But as I continued to pet the cat, she looked directly into my eyes, and I was like, how can this be? This is when things got strange. I quickly decided that I would take her with me, and with that thought I began to feel happy. The cat glanced at me approvingly and rubbed up against me again. We sat in happy silence for about 20 minutes until I started noticing something very odd. The cat's ghost seemed to be rising out of its body. This spirit was too big for the body that it was coming out of. I glanced at my aunt in confusion, and she confirmed that she saw the same thing. There seemed to be a struggle, as if Buddy's spirit was trying to stay in the body of that little cat a while longer. Suddenly, the two cats separated, and the stray immediately attacked me and ran for the door, clawing to get out. We could both still clearly see my deceased cat spirit there, looking at us. I kept talking to him until he slowly faded away, until neither one of us could see him any more. I was sad again, but I no longer felt that same kind of sadness. My aunt ended up befriending the stray, and she's still with her today. She named her Miracle. As I buckled myself into the rental car to make my way back to my new home, I heard a purring in my ear and felt gentle pressure on my shoulder. I knew then my cat was coming home with me. Melissa Starkey, Tennessee. What an amazing story, Melissa. I remember editing this story, and I can't tell you how many chills I felt during the process. I can't thank you enough for sharing this. As a cat lover myself, I think I can fully understand how you felt. Those are your stories for this time. If you have a story that you want to share, like Melissa did, head to the main website at ronsamazingstories.com and click on the story submission banner. And please remember to name your tale and to tell me where you're from. And remember, when you tell your story, you're making it our story. Our featured story this week is a study in terror. Just how powerful is the human mind when faced with the impossible? Can a human being become a cat? Who can say? This tale comes from the OTR series, The Creaking Door. It originates in South Africa. This is the first time we've had an episode from this show, and I'm afraid the quality isn't great, but the story? Well, I thought it was pretty good. It is titled The Cat's Whiskers and first aired sometime in late 1964.
The Creaking Door. The manufacturers of State Express 3-5 Filter King cigarettes take pleasure in presenting The Creaking Door. Good evening, friends of The Creaking Door. The Creaking Door is open. So do come in. Why are you hesitating? Oh, I see. That apparition you met in your nightmare. Oh, yes. Yes, he's here, all right. Ready to drive you out of your mind. A young, determined-looking man steps out of his car onto the muddy dirt road and faces the bleak stone house at the end of the driveway. Hesitating a moment, he turns up his collar against the wind, then walks the long path to the forbidding door.
Keeping me out. You've got no right to force my coming in, whether you like it or not. What are you doing here? What am I doing? You can ask that. I'll talk in our thing. Come in. We'll talk in the library.
How did you find this place? It wasn't easy. You thought of that, didn't you? In here.
Who wants this car?
Oh. All right, Martha. An unexpected visit. You know my wife, Martha, don't you, Ellen? Take a pen and a drink, Martha.
Yes.
Sit down. We'll talk. I didn't come all the way out here to make conversation. What have you come for, then? What have you done with Julia?
The drinks, Carl.
Alan, I've asked you what you've done with... Martha, perhaps Alan would prefer brandy to this. I prefer nothing. You shouldn't have done that, Alan. Those glasses are family heirlooms, very difficult to replace. What have you two done with Julia? What have we done? Am I my sister's keeper? I know she's here, someplace in this house. Don't try to tell me she is. I really wouldn't try to tell you anything in your present condition. Where is she? Upstairs? No, Alan. Upstairs, Mrs. Manning? Julia isn't here. What's got into you anyway? It's got into me. You made a good try, but it won't work. Julie and I are getting married, no matter what you do or try. That is your own personal business and Julia's. All I can do is to assure you that my sister isn't here. And you have no idea where she is? No. That's what you'll tell me next. As a matter of fact, you're right. My wife and I needed a rest. We moved from town and rented this house. Not according to the age. That's ridiculous. He told me Julia's name is on the lease. I'm afraid, Alan, you've been misinformed. I'm going upstairs to look. Carl? It's all right, Martha. Let him go. And when I find her, Julia's leaving this house with me.
Carl, you'll find her now.
I know.
You'll see what she's become.
Yes, Martha. Alan's in for the shock of his life. But there's nothing we can do about it now. Julia, are you in here? Julia.
Please leave, Alan. Please.
Julia. What's the matter?
Just do as I ask. Please leave.
No. Why is it so dark?
Don't turn that lamp on. What? Don't touch that lamp. Keep your hands away from it.
Julia.
You won't turn it on, Alan. Promise you won't.
All right. What has he done to you, Julia?
He?
Your brother, Carl. What has he and his wife done to you?
I've done nothing. Don't you dare say one word against them. Oh, Alan. Why did you try to find me? Why?
How can you ask such a thing? Just a month ago we were to be married, and then you disappeared.
You've got to leave here at once. Just believe you didn't find me.
What?
You've got to.
No. I'm going to find out what this is all about.
For your own good, Alan, go away. Please. Go away and never come back again.
I'm not budging until you tell me why. Why do you sound so peculiar? Why do you want to remain in the dark?
Alan, please go.
Not until you can look me straight in the eye and tell me you want me to leave.
Alan, don't turn on that lamp.
Sorry, Julia, but...
Julia. Now get out of here. Get out or I'll kill you.
Feeling any better now, Alan? Yes, my face has stopped bleeding. The gashes where she clawed you are rather deep. Clawed? Now can you understand why I said my sister wasn't here? Carl, what's wrong with her? What is it? Alan, I know you don't like me, but please, take my advice. Forget you ever knew Julia. Well, I know it sounds cruel, but it's the best advice I can offer you. I'm sorry, it's out of the question. All right. That leaves me no choice but to tell you. Perhaps, after all, it is better than I do. Tell what? What's wrong with Julia? I'll have to ask for your complete confidence. You have it? Look in the mirror, Alan. Huh? Look at those scratches on your face. Well, what are you driving at? Don't they seem strange to you? A month ago, you used the term clawed. You said I was clawed. Exactly. Are those marks the marks the human hand would make? Or are they not more like the marks of an animal's claw? You're not making sense. The sensible explanation is not to my liking either, Alan. It wasn't easy for me to face it when I first saw the reversion setting in. Reversion? I don't follow. It was semi-dark in the room upstairs, but still you noticed something very peculiar about Julia. Physically, that is. She was altogether peculiar. I mean something specific. Her eyes. What did you notice about her eyes? She kept her face pretty well away from me, but now you mention it. Yes. I noticed her eyes were... Oh, God. You noticed they were what, Alan? They were like the eyes of a cat. Yes. In the last 2 weeks, the reversion process has been stepped up, I'm afraid. Already her pupils have expanded to the full iris, and perhaps you've noticed her fear, or rather her pathological hatred of light. Yes, I did. Her fingers, they're virtual claws now. Stop it, please. Can't something be done? A doctor. We've tried everything. If a doctor were to see her now, his only recommendation would be to put her in an institution for the rest of her life. Her unnatural life. Julia. I know how you feel. It's quite right, Alan. If you'd like, you may spend the night with us. Thank you. I'll show you upstairs to your room. It's just not believable. I know. Too shocking to accept at first.
Carl!
Now can you believe, Alan? Now can you believe every word that I've told you is true? Julia.
Carl.
Julia, where have you been?
Been? No.
You promised me you wouldn't leave this room. I've been looking all over the house and grounds for you. Now, where were you?
Carl, please don't be angry with me. Please.
I'm not angry, but for your own sake, you must do as I say. If you don't, I'll have
You'll
to...
send me away.
No, Julia. I'll just have to keep the door to this room locked.
Oh, you'll never send me away. You'll never do that.
I promised you, didn't I? Now, come on. Lie down.
Carl, Alan's here tonight.
I know.
You let him see me.
I couldn't help it. He insisted.
You let him stay in the house.
You'll go first thing in the morning.
And take me away.
You mustn't think about that now.
I scrapped him. I hated him. I didn't think I could ever hate Alan.
I told you not to think about it. Everything's going to be all
Will
right.
it? Oh, will I ever get better?
Of course not. Just lie back, Julia, and I'll soothe your forehead. I didn't mean...
You were going to say so.
No,
You were, weren't you? First, as you would a cat.
No, Julia, I wasn't. You mustn't put words into my mouth. You'll only make things worse for yourself.
What is it?
Julia, where were you tonight?
No.
Are you out of the house?
I don't remember. Why?
You were with someone. Try to remember.
I can't. Why, Carl?
Never mind, it's nothing.
You're keeping something from me.
No.
You're hiding something behind you. You've got something in your hand.
It's nothing, I tell you.
Let me see what...
Now, let go. Julia!
My slipper. My slipper's covered with blood.
How many she has left.
Carl, look.
Easy, Martha.
I killed this room. The necklace is ready. I found him on the floor that way. His throat clawed open.
You better get out of here.
What happened?
Don't come in, Julia.
I heard Martha scream and
Julia, you mustn't look.
That's why there was blood on my slipper. That's why.
Martha, help me get her out of here.
I was with Alan last night and I killed him. I killed him. She's insane. Julia really believes she's a cat now.
Wasn't that our plan, Martha, to drive her out of her mind?
It's gone too far.
Not at all. It hasn't gone quite far enough yet. You'll howl like a cat again tonight.
No, I won't. We've got to stop this right now. Oh, if she gets worse, he'll kill both of us.
So ridiculous. Julia couldn't kill anybody.
But Alan...
Julia didn't kill Alan.
What?
I killed Alan.
You?
Of course. It was quite necessary.
Oh, why didn't you tell me? Why did you...
I wanted to get a legitimate performance out of you when you found his body. I wanted you to be horrified, and I wanted you to recoil from Julia, just as you did.
You're a murderer.
That's a very unpleasant thing to say. I was merely protecting my investment of time and trouble.
You didn't have to commit murder.
Oh, but I did. You see, I hadn't really convinced Alan at all.
How do you know?
I kept my eye on his room after he went up to bed. I saw him steal out and come downstairs here. I listened on the upstairs extension. I heard him telephone Peterson.
And the doctor told him what was wrong with Julia?
He explained to Alan the symptoms of her metalopia, day blindness.
And you killed him for that?
Of course.
But why?
You've suddenly turned very sensitive, darling.
I never bargained for murder.
When you want money, as much money as my sister Julia has, you must be prepared to take any step, no matter how violent.
But
what did you expect me to do? Allow Alan to tell Julia that she was suffering from an eye affliction, after I built up in her mind that she was slowly turning into a cat? Or would you choose to allow him to walk out of here and go to the police?
I don't want that money now.
You're just excited. You'll feel differently about it later.
No, I'll never feel differently after what's happened. I told you all along I had a feeling something would happen.
What could possibly happen now? Alan's out of the way. His body will never be found.
I'm not thinking of Alan. I'm thinking of your sister.
What about Julia?
Oh, I'm thinking of the terrible thing we've done to her.
It's a little late to think about that, isn't it?
I don't know. There must be something we can do.
There's only one thing you're going to do, Martha, and that is, as I say, we're going to keep working on Julia until she's put away for the rest of her life. We're going to keep at it until I have every cent of hers. It's all right now.
Oh, Carl.
It's all right.
It was me, Carl. I was out again, wasn't I?
No, Julia, it was only a dream you had.
It was a thing that...
It's only a bad dream, that's all.
I killed again, just like I killed Alan.
No, you didn't.
Carl, I'd rather be dead than like
No,
this.
Julia, please.
I can't stop myself anymore. I get worse and worse. Look at my hands. They're not really hands anymore. They're claws and...
What is it?
I was out.
No, it's just a dream, I told you.
It wasn't a bad dream. I did kill again. My dressing gown, look. Covered with blood.
Julia.
They find me now. It's time they'll find me and put me away.
I won't let that happen. I promised to take care of you, didn't I?
Oh, yes, sir.
And I will take care of you always. The very best I can.
When are you going to leave her alone?
When she's beyond help completely, and only then, Mother.
I can't stand it anymore.
You stand as much as I say you can stand. Now get hold of yourself. Won't be much longer.
No, Carl. It won't be much longer.
What do you mean?
You'd better stop now. I'm warning you.
Warning me?
For your own good.
Don't be ridiculous.
You won't listen to me. You won't stop.
Of course not. The plan is perfect. Nothing could go wrong now.
Some lunch, Julia. Not hungry. I want to talk to you. Why did you close the door, Martha? Since Alan died, you've never closed it while you were in here. You were afraid to be alone with me. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm here to help you. Help me? To get away from here. What? To get away from Carl. There isn't much time. I don't want to leave Carl. He's the only one who can help me now. No, Julia. I'm the only one who can really help you now. You must leave here tonight before it's too late. You're trying to trick me? No. Oh, believe me. You're jealous because Carl is good to me. You're all being jealous. Please listen. I'm only trying to help. If you stay here, you're lost. You'll end up in an institution. That's what Carl wants. That's what you want. You want me out of this house so they can get me and put me away. No, Julia. Oh, you must believe me. At first, I did want that. Carl talked me into it. But now, it's gone too far. Now I only want to save you from Carl. Julia, you're not a murderess.
What?
You didn't kill Alan.
But I did. And the other people I killed.
There were no other people, only Alan, and you didn't kill him. Carl did.
No, Carl wouldn't do that. He knew I loved Alan when I was... Before this happened to me.
Carl killed Alan. I swear it.
I can't believe.
You must. It's your only chance. Carl put the blood on your slipper and on your dressing gown. It was all a trick to drive you out of your mind. And if you don't let me help you tonight, it'll be too late for you.
They'll put me away?
For the rest of your life. Well, Julia?
You'll help me, Martha? Really?
Yes, in every way I can.
But what can you do now?
I've planned it all. Tonight at dinner, I put a sedative in Carl's coffee. By 9, he'll be fast asleep, and I'll be waiting in the car for you. Do you understand?
Yes, Martha, I understand. You'll be waiting for me downstairs in the car at 9 o'clock.
And by the time Carl wakes, he'll be hundreds of miles away from here, safe.
Surprised to see me, Martha. According to your calculations, I should be fast asleep at this point. Isn't that right?
I don't know what you mean.
Don't waste time fencing. I replaced the sedative with a quite innocuous powder.
You overheard Julia and me.
Not at all. I had no idea of your scheme until Julia told me.
What?
Julia told me everything.
She didn't believe me.
Not a word. She thought you were only trying to trick her. You see, Martha, it was only a waste of your time and your life. Your life.
Carl!
I can't trust you any longer. That's fairly obvious, isn't it?
Carl, you wouldn't.
I've no other course now.
Oh, you couldn't kill me.
I once told you when you want something badly enough, no step is too violent. You see this, Martha?
Oh!
This is the iron claw that was used on Alan.
Carl, no, please.
After I'm finished, I'll call the police. I'll tell them about my sister.
Carl!
My completely insane sister, and the horrible thing she's done to my wife.
No.
And then I'll have everything I've worked for. This is Carl Manning. I live on Windmill Road, the last house in from the highway. Please, come right away.
Manning, Windmill Road.
Yes.
Got it. What's wrong?
There's been a murder.
Murder?
Yes. My wife's been clawed to death. Julia. How did you get down here?
I wasn't in my room when you locked it.
Get upstairs immediately.
No, Carl, I'm not going back to that room again. Ever.
Julia, you'll do as I say, or I... Oh. Why did you turn off the lights?
I heard everything you said on the phone.
What?
And I saw what you did to Martha in the car.
You...
I wanted you to do that to her. That's why I told you everything.
And you did believe her?
It made no difference. It was too late for me.
Julia, I want those lights on.
No, Carl, I I like the dark. Remember, I can only see clearly in the dark. But you can't see me, can you?
Julia, now, listen to me.
I can see in the dark because I'm a cat.
No, Julia.
And you can't hear my steps because I walk on cat feet.
Julia, there's really nothing wrong with you. It's just an eye affliction, that's all.
It's more than that now. I'm more a cat than a human being now. You bumped into the table because you can't see in the dark. You don't have cat's eyes like I have.
You're not a cat, Julia. You're
My
not.
hands are claws now with sharp, long nails that can rip and tear and kill.
No, it's only in your mind. You can't kill.
I'm a cat, Carl. You made me one. You turned me into an animal.
Julia, please, to turn on the light.
You'll never see light again, Carl. Ever.
Julia.
Trapped up against the window now. Behind you is the steep cliff. You're in a corner and you can't get out. You're a mouse trapped in a corner by a cat.
Julia, stand back, don't.
A mouse trapped by a cat.
That's what I call the cat's whisker. Oh, the moral to tonight's fairy tale. Always be kind to animals. You can never tell when one of them will turn out to be a relative of yours.
I restored that one as much as I could. I hope that you were able to enjoy it. The Old Time Radio Researchers Group reports that 42 episodes of The Creaking Door are in MP3 circulation. The series was first aired in 1964 and then closed in 1965. The people of South Africa wanted stories in the inner sanctum vein, and generally the result of this series was thought of favorably by most fans of OTR. It was sponsored by State Express 555 cigarettes, pronounced State Express 35 cigarettes, which is a British tobacco product. I removed their commercials from this production because I found them to be quite odd. The music didn't match the story's mood, and quite frankly, they were very clinical. I don't know that I will ever broadcast one of the Creaking Door episodes again because of the poor quality of the audio. However, let me know what you think. That was episode number 460, and it was all about the cats, Matt Lynx and Melissa Starkey. Thank you for your stories, guys. They were so good. If you want to follow the podcast or the blog, head to ronsamazingstories.com. There you will find any of the links I mentioned and how to contact us. Do you want to help the show? The best thing you can do is to tell your friends all about it, and please leave reviews or feedback wherever you listen. Clicking that follow or like button makes us grow. Thank you for listening, and I hope you come again to find out what are Ron's Amazing Stories.
All of the vintage audio used in the podcast is believed to be in the public domain. Ron's Amazing Stories does not own the rights to any of the old-time radio used here. If you hold the rights to any of the shows played, please contact us immediately at ronsamazingstories.com.